Hello?
Hello, Zeke.
Hey.
Yep.
Hey guys.
Let's see.
Yeah, I wouldn't do this thing. Oh.
Yeah. Let's see.
13. Oh, why is my focus?
Hello.
Hey, Susan.
Hello.
Hey Susan.
Hello.
I was about to send you an email because you weren't home.
Well, it's only 10:37.
11:30. No. It's a half hour, less than a half hour to showtime.
Right. Yes, it's a half hour showtime.
Mirfak is also among the missing.
Well, that's a concern. The shoe must
Less
go on.
of
Isn't that?
yeah, less of one in this particular case. It means that I won't be able to take people to the special viewing angles that I had planned, but I have photographs that I can show.
Well, he might show up.
Yeah. So
Sure.
the point here is that because this is all going to be in public locations, his absence,
Oh, okay.
if he were absent for this tour, it would be a disaster. That's strange. Last time I looked at the the count of people on the Twitch channel, it was 5, and now it's down to 3.
Uh-oh. Well, I'm about to log in.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, RK beat me to the hood today.
He did? Wow. That's amazing.
And miracles do happen. I'll be in Twitch in about 10-15 minutes. I'm engaged in something else at the moment.
Uh-oh. Looks from the Twitch stream, it looks like you're carrying the whole weight of the island on your shoulders. You're like Atlas. Balancing the world in his hand.
That or the whole thing's about to drop on my head. I use a set of Bluetooth earphones for this now, so that I'm not having to wrestle a cable every time I try to do anything.
Oh, your mic sounds a lot better than last month.
Well, that was the Blue Snowball, and that thing is wonky now. I'm trying to get into contact with Logitech to hopefully have it replaced, but so far, as far as their movement goes, I think they make a glacier look speedy. So right now, I've got the web camera that I use has a microphone built into that, and that's what you're hearing me talk over.
Oh, okay. Your webcam.
Yeah. I presume that it's good enough to get the job done. What I was saying about the earphones is that in addition to not the whole point there is that I'm not tethered to my computer by a cable, but and that also makes it easier when I'm wearing a hat, because I can't use headphones for this thing at the same time.
Oh, right.
So, but the trade-off is that sometimes when I try to hook up the earphones to my computer, which I only do normally when I'm doing the tours, getting them to actually hook up and broadcast sound can be a trial. So it took me a good 15 minutes to get them working this morning.
Uh-oh, you're cutting out a little bit.
Anyway.
But again, this fountain noise is just way too loud. Cyan really should turn down the fountain noise. It's too loud compared with...
You mean it's too hard to turn it down yourself?
Talking about it seems to be noisier relative to other sounds in other ages. If I go to JLAC, it never seems to me like JLAC's too noisy, right? Etc., etc. And for some reason, I also had to to get them to work properly, I had to actually remove the Bluetooth connection entirely from my computer and reestablish it. And of course, when I did that, it broke the connection to Skype, so I had to hunt down the settings in Skype so that I could reselect them.
There's only 10 buddies, 10 active buddies in my buddies list. 3 of whom are you and Arte and Zeke. Mirobot is not online.
No. I was to notice before. I mentioned earlier that he hadn't logged in to Skype yet either.
Right. Yeah, I heard that.
So.
I'm gonna grab some coffee.
Yep. Oh, hello, Mirfak.
Hello, everyone.
We were just talking about the fact that you hadn't logged in yet.
Sure, Murphy.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Huh. Oh, that's strange. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Huh. 6 people in the hood. But we've got 12 connected.
Alright. I had to get things set up, that's why. Can you hear me?
Angel
okay?
Myst. Yeah.
Yes.
Angel Myst. I wasn't counting the 3 of us, the tour staff when I was doing that count. I was just noticing that we had about twice the number of people on the stream that than we did in the hood. Angel Myst, I count. I wish you could go back in time and tell my math teachers that. Almost through, but not quite. Shiloh, speaking solely for myself, I think the Muppet Shows was a classier act.
Okay, Angel, you got me on that one. I've never been smacked by a teacher with a math textbook.
I have.
Did she know you'd eventually grow to be 6 foot 11 feet tall?
Actually, it was a male, and I had dozed off in class.
No, I don't think any of them ever predicted that I would grow to 6 feet 11. And as it turned out, they were right not to do so.
How tall are you, Arte?
I'm not that tall. I'm only 5'16".
Yeah. 6'4".
Yep.
No one, Angel. That was Susan cracking a joke at me.
Well, I was really cracking a joke at Arte, but you made it funny by referring it to yourself.
Alright, I'm back. Did I miss
Yep.
anything?
I bet.
Nah. The usual silliness pre-show.
It's the
Holy
warm-up
cow.
act.
Thank you very much. We'll be here all week. Don't forget to tip your servers.
Angel, what age was he when he first started towering over you? $14? Oh my goodness. Then you've got an inch on me. Say for some reason, hearing about your son who's 6'5" reminded me of an old joke that he has to look down to see up. I'm over 200 pounds too, but unfortunately none of it's muscle.
For those of you who attend the All Guilds meeting, the first Saturday of each month. Have they been announcing the Cavern tours during each meeting?
Say that again. I got distracted by a comment by Rose, so I didn't quite catch what you said there.
I'm asking if the GOMI has been announcing our monthly Cavern tours during its AGMs.
Ah.
I haven't gone recently, so I wouldn't know. That's about like the biggest publicity we get.
How's my voice? Is my voice okay? I'm not using a microphone at the moment.
Yeah,
It's a
your
little
microphone. Well, it's not that. It's also that it's sounding a little bit off. Just a touch tinny, maybe. Well, but it is sounding a bit muffled.
This happened recently. Most cameras know about it, but I had no idea about it. I didn't know in the play a game or change your settings and AMD settings or NVIDIA settings. So I played Abduction in the most horrible experience possible, on the lowest setting possible.
Oh yeah, my old computer, I had to slow it down, and it was pathetic. I do need to play it on my new computer that I bought a couple years ago.
All right, is this better?
Yeah.
Much, much better.
All right.
I could.
And that is it for the sound, music. I guess we're ready for the pre-tour announcements now.
Okay, I'm going to send out one final check to see on my buddies list to see who's not here.
Okay.
Caver's in the Nexus. It looks like he's on his way. Mirrobot is in a location I don't recognize, so Murphak, maybe you could take care of that, please.
Me?
Or Larry.
Oh, somebody moved me.
He's testing me to see if I'm paying attention.
There might be a pop quiz soon.
Thank you, Murphak. Let's see. Everyone else is in the hood. Zeke, do you want to do the introduction?
Yep, I can do the introduction.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming to this month's Cavern tour. As always, we will be going through ages and discovering the history of these ages. Always stay with the group. Never climb. Don't climb on any ladders or anything Our bot, Mirrorbot, provided by Mirfact, is going to provide transportation, warp us to those locations. It can cause some glitchiness if you go over some ladders or if you try to climb on your own. That makes it impossible for you to, for Mirfact to get everyone back together. The second rule is we will be going over spoilers in certain areas. So if you haven't played through the whole game, it is recommended you go through, even though we will try to be as spoiler friendly as possible. Second, if you do lose a group or you exit out of a game, you can PM Microbot Link, and then I think it's Find Larry to rejoin the group.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is you can. There will be sections where you can ask questions. You can send them to me, Susan, or if one of the historians that we have wants to have a section where they want to ask questions. Please have those questions relevant to the particular age we go to, and not to other ages, because we might be doing a tour of another age that you have a question that might be answered later in the tour. If the sound is too loud, you can go down in your settings, the wrench tool on your right hand set, go to your audio settings, and then turn down your music, ambient sounds and sound effects. That will help keep the music down. Also, be sure to have Twitch open, because Larry will be showing some screenshots. We'll be switching back and forth, so make sure your game is in windowed mode in order to do so. Let's see. I'm trying to think of anything else I'm missing here.
Nothing major. Basically, if you get staying with the group is less important these days since we've got the stream and they can hear me no matter where they are now instead of having to be within chat range.
Yeah.
But other than that, getting back to the if you crash, you just link back to Mirrorbot and then use Find Larry to rejoin the group and stay off of ladders if we happen to come across any. Those are the main things at this point. And obviously, if they're hearing me, they're logged into Twitch.
Yep.
And no finger poking.
Yeah.
Keep your
Susan,
arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times.
Yeah, and enjoy the ride.
Anyway, at this point, I guess we're ready to get started. So let's go ahead and link to the bot.
If you don't have Mirrorbot, it is recommended you friend Mirrorbot so that you can link to the age we're going to.
Oops. So it would help if I was typing on the right keyboard. I've literally got 4 computers running right now and started typing on the keyboard for a completely different one.
Oh dear.
You
are like the Wizard of Oz with his control panel.
All you need is the curtain.
No, I think he was more organized. Let's see, that is the stairs. So I want to go down this way.
Did you say he was more organized?
Absolutely.
Well, the only one left behind here in the hood is Carol. So let's go ahead and get started, and I will IM him.
Okay. Oh, and it would help if I were to turn on the web. There we go.
Actually,
Okay. We're going to be trying to cover as much of the eastern half, or excuse me, the western half of the island as we can today. We'll see how far we get.
yeah, we gotta move down to your area.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to be starting at the Canyon Mall if you aren't here already.
It's kind of interesting that the Canyon Mall does not have a Nexus link.
That's because it's surrounded by them.
We're all going downstairs, folks.
Yeah, I forgot.
It sounded wrong for some odd reason.
To the strip mall.
I feel like going downstairs is going downstairs to the house.
Going down these stairs.
I gotta feel bad for my avatar because he exercises all the time, walking all over.
See. You said, when you were talking, Susan, you made me think of a very, very bad joke, which is,
Oh no! And you're gonna tell it anyway?
I don't know about you, but I'd be too embarrassed to hang out in the strip mall.
Oh dear.
Memorialized on YouTube for all eternity.
It's only my channel, so no danger of getting very far.
You never know. Maybe one day you'll become famous for something, for because you've done something notorious
and you never know. Somebody might be recording this,
Exactly.
And it's going to be up on Twitch for 2 weeks. All kinds of opportunities for it to propagate. And the internet is forever, so just a warning.
I'm taking a moment here because I want to find something before I actually began the tour here. Let's see. See.
Oh, by the way, for those of you who were here the 3 previous tours, this is our 4th tour of Ae'gura Island, part 4. Larry's going to try to finish Ae'gura Island today. Is that correct?
In theory, but I'm not holding my breath on that one. Okay.
He's going to theoretically finish it.
Yeah. Like I said, we'll see how far we get. Let's see. Okay. Looking at the stream window, a number of years back, the creative bug hit me, and I decided, what if the Canyon Mall looked like something that would actually be on the surface? What would we find there? And so, say, what corner mall would be complete without one of these?
Oh, the golden arches? Oh no! You're gonna get sued by Cyan. Oh, that's actually hilarious. Everyone look at the stream, please.
Or McDonald's might come after you.
Now I'm hungry. Thanks a lot.
Okay, and of course the other place that is almost a necessity would be this one.
Oh, that's hilarious. Starbucks. Oh boy.
And then I
I
had
don't
to
see it
throw.
on the Twitch one. There it is. It's a little
Yeah,
delayed.
it may take a little while to propagate to your screen. Um, and then there was one more location that I did, and I did this because this is the place that pretty much every explorer ever has wanted to be somewhere.
Now, does that Dunny lettering spell out Starbucks?
Yes, it does.
Starbucks coffee.
Oh, the restrooms. We've always wondered where the restrooms are. Why are they both male? Oh no,
They
the
are.
one on the right's female.
Yeah.
I was going to be politically correct. Never mind.
The lettering above that is the Denis words Ederhernte, which is restrooms
Oh,
in
that's a
Denis.
great way to start off the tour. Bathroom humor. But swish.
Okay, let's go.
Rose says Larry has way too much time on his hands.
At times, yes. Every once in a while, I get hit by the bug to make something. Okay. The Canyon Mall is part of a street on the island that connects Tokata Courtyard to the concert hall foyer. It is half ruined from earthquakes after the fall. Large portions of the street collapsed along the canyon side. The DRC placed barricades around the collapsed sections to help prevent accidents. For most of the history of the DRC, the mall was blocked off from explorers. The barriers preventing access to it were not removed until January 4th of 2007. Even then, it wasn't until January 11th that barriers were removed from between the mall and the concert hall foyer. There are 5 distinct buildings along the mall, which are called City Interiors 0078 through 0082 in the DRC classification system. Of them, the only one open to exploration is the Kadish Gallery, which is called City Interior 0080. The buildings are suspected to have been shops of some sort, although there are several other possibilities. For example, one of them could have been something called the Arch Museum that's mentioned in DRC restoration notes, but it was never, they never said where it was located. Instead of any writing identifying the building's purposes or names, many of them have the same greeting found on the Arch of Kurith, the ferry terminal, and the Great Library. The inscription is damaged, but reads Rabanto Tenian Shempti, and that phrase means the island welcomes you. The following building numbers are a guess as to the correct order. We don't know whether or not the numbers go from right to left or from left to right. The only one that we know for certain is the Kadish Gallery, and because that's right smack in the middle, it doesn't give us any clues as to what the others are numbered. For simplicity's sakes, we generally assume that they are numbered from the one closest to Tokata Courtyard over, but it could just as easily be the other way around. Say, we asked Richard Watson about that, and he told us that pick a direction either is equally valid as far as he can remember. City Interior 78 was halted at Phase 3 when the DRC abandoned the cavern. City Interior 79's status is unknown. 80, of course, is the Kadish Gallery, which is open to explorers. By the way, that name was not assigned to it by the DRC. It is a translation of the actual Denis name, which is written along the tops of the walls inside. You'll see it later, but it reads Retemalach Kadish, which means the Gallery of Kadish. The status of City Interior 81 is also unknown, and 82 was halted in Phase 1 because of large cracks in the main support pillar. The one thing that we do know about these rooms is we can extrapolate from the gallery, and that is that the rooms are all too large to fit side by side. These are set in a stalagmite ridge that is a little too narrow across for them to fit side by side. When you walk into the gallery, notice that the main room is actually set diagonally to the entry doors, and it precludes any other rooms around it. Because of that, an educated guess has been made that most of the other doors open onto stairways up or down, and that the 5 spaces are stacked vertically like a pile of books. Before we actually go inside to take a quick look, one thing I'd like is for you to all turn around, face towards the palace. One thing I'd like for you to notice when you look at the palace is that look at the smooth surface of the stone used to construct it, as opposed to the rough rock on either side. And you will notice that that smooth stone goes all the way down to the water, at least to the water line of the Denis Lake. That basically tells us that, like a lot of Denis buildings, most of the palace is underneath the parts that we think of as being the palace. Now, I mentioned that when we go into the gallery.
Is that Nara stone, Larry?
Yes. Notice when you walk in that you have to make a turn to the left to actually see down the length of it. There isn't an awful lot that can be said about the Kadish Gallery that doesn't venture into spoilers, but we can cover some of the basics. This building was purchased by Guildmaster Kadish after his dismissal from the Guild of Writers in Denis year 9320, and after he wrote The Age of Kadish Tolesa in Denis year 9395. It was opened as an art exhibit featuring works by both Denis and outsider craftsmen. It's unknown exactly when Kadish purchased the building, but it would have had to have been probably between 9396 and 9399, since it was opened after he built both Tolesa and Annonay and contains clues for both ages. It's known that the gallery was popular, which meant that it would have had to have been open before Denis year 9400, which is the year that Denis was destroyed. The artwork in here, the fact that this is called an art gallery, disguised its true purpose, which was to house the clues to puzzles in Kadish Telesa and Anone. Kadish may have commissioned the art to remind himself of how to solve his puzzles, but another possibility is that his rather huge ego caused him to hide the clues in plain sight as a way of thumbing his nose at the visitors. Kadish was noted for inviting people to come to the Watcher's Pub, which he had also purchased, to try to solve his great tree puzzle. The gallery, if you look at the top edge of the walls, you will notice that there is Denis writing that goes all around the edges. Okay, let me see if I can get that. Where you can see it in my camera. That writing is below the two blue bands, and that is the writing that says the Gallery of Kadish. It's repeated over and over again all the way around the room. On the second level, just inside the entrance, is a circular balcony with a dome above it resembling a night sky. It is not stated anywhere which sky the dome represents, but it may be the sky of Garternay, given Kadish's themes elsewhere. On the balcony, at the far end, if we go over here and around, this device standing here is called a cannon. It's a Denis recording and sound playback device, which contains a piece of music which is called the gallery theme. Speaking out of character, Cyan's audio director and composer of much of the music of Uru was Tim Larkin, and this is one of his better pieces. He told a story about it in an interview from January 13th of 2004. According to him, when he wrote the music, he imagined that the woman singing was the wife of the guy who's dead in the vault. He loved opera. She's singing to him as a call when Denis falls. He's lying beside his riches, afraid to leave them. So his wife dies in Denis alone, and he died in the vault alone. There you have it. The fact of the matter, though, is that while that makes a pretty story, if you were to try and imagine that really happening, it's extremely unlikely. Because, first off, we don't know if Kadish was actually ever married. Secondly, we don't know. We have no idea that whether or not he actually loved opera. And three, the idea that she recorded this as a way of calling him home during the fall of Denis presupposes that she was a woman who traveled around with a full orchestra in tow to provide the music whenever she wanted to sing. That alone is highly unlikely. There is one other space in here that I like to point out whenever I bring people down into the room, though. When you walk into the room, right over here inside the entryway, where I am standing is the roof of a space that is blocked off from the rest of the chamber. I refer to this particular space as the secret room. The room is semicircular and there are no doors into it. Let's see. Let's see. If you look at the stream window, I just put up a picture of the interior of the hidden room or secret room, whichever you want to call it. The room is semicircular and we don't know of any doors into it. In it, the Dini writing that runs along the ceiling actually runs along the baseboards. It's quite likely that the room was created accidentally during construction. It would have been an easy mistake to make in the building plans to leave out a door into that space below the balcony. But accident or not, given that most of the clues to Kadish's puzzles depend on things that are either missing or hidden, it seems highly appropriate that the building containing those puzzles would have a secret chamber. When we spoke to Richard Watson about this, he told me that he believes the space may have been there deliberately as a place for Kadish to store things that he may have wanted to keep out of public view. That, or it may have been his candy stash, which was typical Watson humor. I had asked Murfak before whether or not that he can make these walls so that we could walk through them and get into that space. Whether or not he was able to, I am about to find out.
I can't remember whether the floor in there is solid or not. I think it is.
Yes, it is, because it's still part of this model. Okay, no, the wall is still solid, so I can't walk into it. Let's see. Let me try. Oh, never mind. I believe it just got teleported into it.
Oh, this floor is actually lower than.
It's slightly separated from the rest of the room, yeah. But it's a but yeah, if you look upwards, let me take that back. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, this is it. I was just talking about that, Scott. Basically, there's a good chance that that this was just an accident of architecture. And that's what and we don't know the answer to that one. Say, but like I said, Richard Watson kind of guessed that if they put this in there in here deliberately, then it probably would have been just as a place to keep things out of sight.
Yeah, do you guys
Yep.
see here that the real floor is like waist high?
Yeah. I'm looking at
Kadish's man cave.
yeah. I'm looking at Cave Woman and can see that the floor is cutting through her legs at about mid thigh, or they were anyway. Yeah. Oh, I've actually got an angle right now where I can actually see the outer wall and the inside at the same time. Okay. Well, since we have a lot more ground to cover, Murphac, please warp us back outside to the road. That way we won't have to try and jump our way out of this. Thank you. Good enough. Okay, back outside. And we are going to turn and go up to the concert hall foyer.
What this pretty blue trim is made from? Is it a type of stone?
That I couldn't answer to you. It may have just been a transparent material with fire marbles behind them. There is essentially no information to be found about the concert hall, which is found on the same peninsula as the Canyon Mall. At one time, I thought it might have been mentioned in one of the DRC notebooks as the Opera House, but that turned out to be a mistake. The actual Opera House was a building located on another peninsula somewhere to the east of both the island and the city. The only known images of it show it both in the distance. The Opera House is part of an area called the Civic District of Cavern and was completed in Denis year 1650. That would have been about 6,007 years before Christian era. It was built during the reign of King Solith. While I have no information about it, I'm guessing that anyone who could afford a ticket could go to the opera, while the concert hall here on the island would have had restricted access, since only the Denis upper classes could normally travel here. The concert hall was inaccessible for most of the time that the DRC was in the cavern.
It wasn't until January 12th, 2007, that the path from the Canyon Mall was opened, and the rope bridge spanning the broken section of the Canyon Bridge wasn't installed until January 30th. The rope bridge was intended to be temporary, but the financial collapse of the DRC left it as is. The concert hall is one of the few buildings whose interior has never been shown, even in concept art. The structure is roughly an isosceles triangle with a rounded apex and a concave base. Let me. Oops. Here. There we go. I'm going to. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to put up a picture on the stream. This is an overhead view of the concert hall, and you can, it's in the lower half of the picture, and you can see how it's set in this peninsula made of stalagmites, excuse me. You can see how it's roughly a triangular shape, and why when I first saw this, I thought it looked like a spaceship had crashed right through the rock. The concave base forms the foyer, which holds the Nexus terminal. The foyer is the only part of the concert hall accessible to explorers. The entrances to the hall itself are blocked off by safety barriers. I can tell you that there are no doors directly behind the barriers. Instead, there's a corridor that runs right and left, which presumably led to the actual doors. I've read about estimates of the interior in which various fans believed that there wasn't enough internal room to hold a large audience. That's something I strongly disagree with. My own estimate of its interior space includes the idea that the upper end of the seating area is located underneath the concert hall foyer. And as near as I can guess, it's roughly a volume equal to 4 of the neighborhood common rooms combined. It could probably have seated 400 or 500 people, and perhaps more depending on the seating arrangements inside and whether there were boxes or galleries along the side walls. In other words, it's probably at least equal to a large movie theater here on the surface. The stage, which is the apex of the triangle, is a multi-story structure jutting out into the Ae'gura Canyon. The upper story is the stage proper and appears to have removable outer walls that can be retracted to expose it to the canyon, or closed to restrict view of those inside the hall itself. One existing sketch mentions movable panels for gathering light as being part of the structure. My best guess is that the lower part of the stage area holds offices and dressing rooms. It seems plausible that the hall would have been used for the performance of plays as well as musical events. There are several plays and operas mentioned in DRC notebooks that were said to be important to the Denis that might have been played here.
We also, at one point, I asked Richard what it was that they had intended to do with this thing, and he told me that they had actually had plans at one point to try and turn this into a place where uh, explorers could put on musical events and such. However, of course, they never built the interior, so that plan didn't turn out to be anything. Let's see, what else do I have? I'm going to run through some pictures. Here is a drawing of a concept art drawing of the stage end, and it's this drawing that mentions about the movable panels for reflecting light. Let's see. This is standing inside the on the other side of the barriers, looking down the corridor. This is standing on the stage section of the building, and this is the floor just below the stage. And that is much of the interior as exists. So basically, this picture shows the stage area with the moving panels, and then below it is the area we just saw the interior of, where the offices might have been. This drawing here that I'm just putting up, is some concept art that showed a different way of providing light. It's basically a giant prism system that would have collected light from the algae in the Denis Lake and then directed it into the theater. Say, and I, for one, am just as happy that they chose not to use that particular design.
Looks like a giant gun pointing towards the console hole.
I can see where you're going with that one, but on the other hand, but the one thing I do know for certain is that it's an ugly son of a gun. Here's another overhead shot showing the concert hall from the base end, the foyer end. And here's another overhead shot from the stage end. Mirfak, if you would please, can you set up the platform outside so that we can see so that we can take the tour group outside and show them the concert hall from state or foyer from outside the road? Let me go ahead and turn this off. Oops. Okay, Scott Miller has a question about one of the drawings or one of the pictures. Let me go ahead and bring that back up. And
Oh, this is cool. Thank you, Murphac.
okay, in that case, I think this is what he was talking about. So this is what I wanted Murphac to bring us out so we could see. Scott, if this is what you were talking about, then yes, this is the outside of the concert hall foyer, looking in through the bars that you look out towards out of to see the harbor.
And yes, you can walk around a little bit out here too.
And while we're out here taking a look at this, did we have any questions that I missed?
The only question I've always had is the doors within Ae'gura always have a blue light as if it's powering. Is that just from the electricity from the marbles, or because it seems much different from the lights of the like ferry terminal and Token Alley? What
If
would be
you're
the
talking
difference
about
between?
the lighted buttons that you press to open the doors, those would not be fire marbles. Those probably are some sort of electrical system, because those when the doors are disabled, those lights are out.
Mhm.
This is another reason why I think that the seating area for the theater may have been located below the foyer. If you look at this, you can see that dark band down at the bottom of this area, that the building itself extends quite some distance below the actual roadway through the concert hall foyer. People popping in to join us using Find Larry and say, if you've ever heard that expression, if you can see the world through my eyes, that's one instance when you can. Okay. Did anyone else have any questions about things that we've covered up to this point?
Are we going to be also looking at the balcony that's on the other side, overlooking the river, the lake?
Are you talking about are we going to go around to the stage?
Where the one that we can see from the rope bridge, there's a
Right,
solid balcony down there.
the stage, yes.
Okay.
That's up to Murfact, because he's going to have to build a platform over there. But there's no reason why we couldn't if he's willing.
It is hard to see from the rope bridge because there's this red awning covering it.
I don't think we've done that in a previous tour, so it probably would be a good idea if we did it this time.
Oh, everyone wave to Maribot. He's standing in line for a show.
Might be waiting a while.
Would these shows have been restricted to the upper elite classes?
That's what I mentioned that already,
Oh,
but the answer to
okay.
that is yes, because
Okay.
the common people were not really allowed on the island. There was only one common residential district, and we presume that was oh goodness, my mind's gone blank on the name of that king. Arte, who was the one who built Carathan?
Okay, Carathan was renamed from Shamathan, and Shamathan was in homage to Queen Shama, and it was her son Kedri.
Kedri, that's right. Kedri built a lower class residential district here on the island, and he did, and we believe that it was mostly populated by the people who worked in the shops and other buildings here. Uh, all three of the other residential districts were upper class only, and the upper class resisted giving the ability of commoners to come here. That's what, in one point in Dene history, there was an initiative to dig a tunnel under the Dene Lake from the Dene city to the island, so that people would be able to get back and forth easier. And it was actually shot down by the Dene elite, who didn't want it to be easy to get to the island. So the chances are that this was a very exclusive theater as far as class went.
And the king announced that it was going to be stopped because of, quote, environmental concerns, close quote. But it was not environmental concerns. It was because the elite was pressuring him to knock it off.
Yeah.
What kind of environmental concerns could be down here in the cavern other than earthquakes?
Well,
It's not like there's storms down here.
They were concerned that the tunneling might somehow damage the lake algae.
Oh.
Or at least that was the story they stuck to.
That was their story, yes. Kedri was actually one of the most beloved kings after Alcindar and King Ritneref, and was considered a king for the people.
With good reason. He was the first and one of the few Dene kings that actually expressed any concern whatsoever for how the lower classes of Dene were doing.
Which was part of the reason why he commissioned the construction of Shamathan, which became Carathan.
Ae'gura, you were correct. That was Shomat, the third Dene king who killed his brothers.
Attaboy, welcome back. I haven't seen you for a long time.
Attaboy.
But it's a new avatar for him. Ae'gura.
Okay. Okay.
AKA Attaboy.
Alcindar basically was the one who had the Pinto plague created, and when that got out, he basically caught all kinds of flack for it. We'll be going into his story in great detail in a later tour when we talk about the age of Pinto.
Actually, that wasn't Alcinder's fault. That was Me'emon's mother, uh, Jolatha, who was responsible for the Pinto Plague spreading among the Dni.
So, in the chronological order, Alcindar was King 8, and he was followed by Solath, and Solath's son was King Meerta, who was King
Merita, excuse me,
10.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was so 8, 9, 10 was Meerta, and it was his mother Jolatha that coerced him to breaking the seal on the tomb of the great king to release the plague, which released the plague.
Shiloh O'Brien. Biological warfare did care about sides when when the Pinto Plague was first created. It was genetically engineered to only affect the Pinto, although it wound up affecting other outsider groups as well. But and that and the and this and your statement that viruses evolve was the thing.
It was
Alcindor, when he had himself sealed in the tomb of the great king with all of the infected linking books, was he left himself as the only host for the plague, and while it was in there, it did evolve and became capable of infecting the Dni as well. And so when July, and so the Pinto plague had never affected Dni citizens up until Jolatha went into the tomb of the great king and wound up unleashing this mutated version of it. Okay. I'm not sure if Murfak is caught what we asked of him. Murfak, can you take us back into the concert hall foyer and then rebuild the platform so that it's outside the concert hall stage on the other side of the peninsula?
Where?
Okay, hang on just a second. I'll put up a picture to show you. Let's see. Oh, I already have the one that up. So let's see.
Should we walk over to the rope bridge or?
No, I'm going to. He'll need to warp us over there no matter what. Now I'm just going to bring up a picture to show him the view that I want. Okay, if you look at the stream picture or the stream window, here fact, this is the approximate area that I'd like to show them.
Oh, thank you, Murfak. Sorry to put you on the spot. This was my idea. I'm so sorry. Thank you.
There.
Oh.
Let's see, where are we at the moment? Okay, that's right.
And yes, folks, this area is solid in the public instance of Ae'gura Island.
Yeah, it's solid.
And there's a way to get down here via MarketQuest.
Are we actually inside the offices? Let's see, if I walk over here.
It looks like it.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
inside. Okay, we are actually on the concert hall stage projection, uh, the apex of the triangle. So if you look out where I am, you can see I'm looking up toward the Canyon Mall from that structure. And yes, this area is solid in and it used to be that you could there was a skydiver quest that you could follow to jump over here from the Canyon Mall.
The quest starts at the other end of the rope bridge, actually.
Oh, it did? I knew
Yeah.
there must have been more than one because I do remember one that started in the mall.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I tried following it once, but I was never much of a skydiver.
Should send you my quest sometime.
And if you walk over out here in midair, you can get a good look at the way this area is put together. And while we're out here, I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the bridge.
Oh, can I ask you real quick? And you probably mentioned this.
Okay.
This teachy tiny area, this is just kind of like a place to go outside and drink a glass of wine and smoke a cigarette, right? This isn't the actual stage. It's so tiny. It's
Actually,
too tiny to be a stage.
no, if you look up slightly, see those two archways that go in there. My guess, as I mentioned, is that those would lead into perhaps stage offices and dressing rooms and other places like that. Also, probably storage rooms and things, uh, all the other things that you need for theater. But if you look up that rounded section up above it, where we are now, is the stage itself, and there were reflectors on it that were used to help light the interior. In any case, the concert hall bridge was built to provide a shortcut from the concert hall to the road that led between the Great Library and Sutherland Point. This structure was hit hard by earthquakes after the Denis fled from the cavern. The DRC installed a suspension bridge to connect the remaining portions on January 30th of 2007. The original bridge was supported from both the top and the bottom by single-span half arches anchored on a stalagmite on the north side and did not reach all the way to the south side. The bridge deck was covered by a roof. The south end of the bridge is supported by a reinforced abutment built into the face of a stalagmite ridge, which has tunnels bored into it. And of course, you may be back during its heyday, the entire span of the bridge was covered by a roof. And that led me to writing this. Why put a roof on the bridge or anywhere else in Denis since it's underground? And one must keep in mind that Denis is about 6 miles or so below the surface. Groundwater trickles down and drips from stalactites hanging from the ceiling of the cavern. Everywhere you look around the cavern and see a stalagmite jutting upward, there is a matching stalactite on the cavern ceiling that's dripping water down onto it. That's why there are pools of water on the upper levels of Ae'gura Island, even up as high as the Great Zero. Because of that, roofs were needed to keep the Denis from having to deal with surprise hits from drops of water that had fallen hundreds of feet from the unseen cavern ceiling. One can presume that to be the reason why so many of their roads are in tunnels, as well as why they meander the way they do. Their paths may have been designed to avoid being underneath stalactites. Okay. Meva has joined us. Let's see, where are we? We're outside the stage end of the concert hall. Let's see. We're above a branch of the Denis Lake. In between we're basically in between the palace and the concert hall. Okay, Atago, I had answered this one a couple of times earlier. That writing above the various entrances of the Canyon Mall is the welcome message that was only supposed to appear on the ferry terminal originally. When it was it says "Welcome to the island welcomes you," basically. Okay. Mirfak, can you warp us to the bridge now, please? Thank you. And so that's something else to keep in mind, is that for most of the time that the game was live, this rope bridge here did not exist. It wasn't until the very last year of operation that this was actually put here. And if you remember the incident in which uh, Phil was captured by the DRC, which took place here on the north end, the northern side of the bridge, there was no rope bridge here at that time. Okay. Yeah, it was January of 2007 that they installed that. I'm now running over to the overlook just before the library. That is correct. The DRC did make that bridge. Okay, you can use Find Larry to catch up with me.
the area where I am now is called the Library Overlook. And the one thing that's notable about it is that this has the same tile pattern as the Hall of Kings. This is called the library tree, if I remember correctly. And I'll talk more about it once we get to the Hall of Kings, assuming that that's today. Let's see, it's 1:10, so we're actually making pretty good time. Moving over to the library courtyard. And let me grab my notes on this. Oops. The library at the northwest end of Ae'gura is the largest common library that we can visit, but it's only one of many. There are small common libraries in every residential neighborhood, although these do not in any way compare to the private libraries of the rich and powerful. The library on Ae'gura is surrounded by a large plaza called the library courtyard, and there's a Nexus terminal located to the left of the entrance behind a tent set up by the DRC. The origins of this library are unknown. There used to be a theory that it was commissioned by the second king of Dni, Ae'lesh, and completed in Dni year 233. That idea arose from a passage in the Ae'lesh notebook that read, "Records indicate that Ae'lesh modeled his life very closely to Rinaref's. He refused to build himself a palace until a common library was opened, and he strongly supported a place where all citizens could have access to books. Though there was some minor disagreement on minor issues, the building was eventually finished in 233 DE. Although, like his mentor, Ae'lesh still refused to build himself a palace. However, the common library that Ae'lesh commissioned was one that was built in the Dni city, not on Ae'gura Island. It was intended to display linking books for all of the Dni people to use, back before the social classes were quite as stratified as they became. Placing it on the privileged classes only island wouldn't have been a very good idea. A library for the common man isn't going to do much good if commoners can't go there. And hang on just a sec while I look for a picture. Okay. If you look at the stream window, I have a drawing up, which is, or I will have in a moment as soon as it propagates. That is the common library that was built by King Ae'lesh in the Dni city.
Which leads me to something I wanted to bring up in case the tourists haven't heard this. This region is commonly referred to as the city, but this isn't really the city, is it? It's just Ae'gura Island.
Yes,
Correct.
it is actually called, the Dni just refer to it as the island. They don't, to them, the name Agra was actually kind of archaic. To them, it was kind of, oh, that's what my great grandfather used to call it.
It wasn't until about 3702 that the only residential district for commoners, Shamathan, was built, and commoners who worked in the government were permitted to live on the island. However, that didn't mean the upper classes wanted them underfoot, so only the residents of Shamathan were welcome. Sometime after 5473, King Me'emen proposed using Stone Eater and Stone Tooth to dig a tunnel from the city to the island to cut down on the need to wait for ferry boats or to use private ones. The idea was soundly shut down by the elites, who apparently felt that it would make the island too accessible to lesser mortals. And this is something we had talked about a little bit earlier. The common library in the Denis city was filled with linking books that were basically rejects that were unacceptable for the upper classes. King Kedri, the man who had Shamathan built, visited the common library one day. This is an excerpt from his notebook. A short while later, after the area of Shamathan began to grow, Kedri was walking through the city, conversing with his people and telling them of his plans. And Kedri was led to the common library because he wanted to see the ages he had heard his people talk of. And again the king was disturbed and asked his advisors, "Where are the books that the great Denis have written?" "All around you," they answered, pointing at the rows of books that lined the shelves. "And yet I do not see the ages of our people here. I see ages that resemble failed school assignments for the students of writers. I see ages that not even those students would visit, much less a king. So I ask you again, where are the great ages of Denis?" So we don't really know who built the library on the island, when, or why. We don't really even know what was kept in it. The two books found here now, Jalak and Minkata, were placed here by the DRC after they passed Phase 5 approval. It's not known if they were found in the Great Library originally. Ailish was the first to create a common library, but not the last. It became a fairly typical practice for kings, nobles, and government officials to commission linking books for public distribution in order to gain popularity with the common people. And they built common libraries for them to be kept in. These ages were generally places the Denis liked to go to break up the monotony of living in a cave system. The library on Ae'gura is surrounded by a large plaza called the courtyard, as I mentioned before. Excuse me, I'm repeating myself here accidentally. On the harbor side of the library, a section of the library courtyard became undermined over the course of time and collapsed into the harbor. The missing sections of that of the courtyard can be easily seen at the bottom of the cliff. That collapse was a recent event, having occurred on March 12th of 2002. The DRC was present at the time and said this about it in their website, drc.org. Quote unquote, "Cavern environment stabilized further. Unfortunately, a major section of a courtyard structure on Ae'gura Island fell during the night. As a result, access is restricted indefinitely." And that is why it took basically until 2006, 2007 for this side of the island to be opened up. The library itself is a multi-story building. The doors into the upper floors are locked. The first level below ground, which was probably the main entry level of the library, consists of a large room with the central shaft and stairwell leading down to lower floors. Currently, only the main level and a landing on the floor below it are open to explorers. At the moment, we know a total of 5 floors below ground level, if you include the main level,
giving the building a total of 7 known stories. The above ground portion of the building, oh, excuse me a moment, I just realized I need to change my facing so I'm actually looking at the building. Okay. The above ground portion of the building has 2 floors and a canopy roof. It is dominated by a light sculpture consisting of an illuminated ball of glass panels, with room inside for 2 floors. The bottom of the ball forms part of the ceiling of the main level of the building, and that portion is surrounded by a decorative molding with the island greeting repeated on it around the circle. On the rear of the building, there's an open doorway high on the side, and that opens into the uppermost level of the building, where inside the light sculpture. However, why that door is there, we don't know, because it opens onto a sheer drop to the courtyard. If we run around to the back side of the building, and look up, you will see what looks like some of the light sculpture in a trapezoidal opening in the back wall, and that's the doorway that I was talking about. You are looking at the actual light sculpture as it exists at that level. On either side of the building, if we go around and look up, you can see more of the light sculpture, which is a very large sphere. But on either side of it, there are 3 stained glass panels. There is a crowned man, a veiled woman, and a panel with geometric designs on it. Unfortunately, no information about the panels has been found to tell us who the portraits are supposed to represent. And hang on just a second, and I will, let's see. I'm going to put up some more pictures on the stream. The first one that I'm putting up is an overview of what the light sculpture looks like, as seen from above. And if we were able to get up on top of the library roof, this is what we would see. Oh, here's something I should mention since I just happened across it. The picture that I'm putting up now shows the top of the columns, or the bases for the columns that hold up the front end of the building. And I don't know if you've ever noticed these before, but they have some gold leaf designs or bas reliefs on those pillar bases that are actually quite pretty. And here's the bottom of the light sculpture inside of the library building. Okay. And what I really wanted to show you, this here's the veiled woman who is on the side of the building next to the light sculpture. Here's the crowned man. And here is the geometric design in the third panel. Okay. Now we can go, whoops, what am I doing? Okay. And now let's go inside the building. Oops, oh, that's what happened. I was trying to hit shift. As we get down into the main floor of the library, again, you can look up and see that the ceiling of this room has the bottom of the spherical glass light sculpture that surrounds the two upper floors. The ring around it has the usual island welcome message, which says the island welcomes you, and that's repeated several times around the circle. The floors below ground are divided each into 5 niches. Each of one can hold up to 5 pedestals for linking books, although the main floor's entrance doors use up one of the niches. Most explorers will see 8 pedestals in the niches of the main floor, only 2 of which have linking books. In offline versions of the library, it's possible to have more than that visible. The walls and railings are decorated with arrayed hand design identical to those found in the museum here on Ae'gura Island. That pattern is called the hand tree. It's the first pedestal one reaches when walking clockwise around the room that holds the book linking to Minkata, and there's a notebook next to it listing the surveyor's routes which Isha co-opted for her fourth journey. Minkata was a training ground for the Dene Guild of Surveyors, and the age was used to teach apprentices how to follow a route by dead reckoning and how to navigate by the stars. The second pedestal holds a link to Jalak, and a notebook written by the DRC lists several games that can be played there. No one knows what the Dene used that age for. It probably was not an arena, as there are no seats on the surrounding walls. There are what appear to be a few windows piercing the wall in places, but there are also no doors into the walls or any means of access to the top.
On a label near the main door, there are 3 notebooks with stories about the events and the lives of the kings of Denis. That is over here. The first is about King Kedri, who made several changes to the city. The second is about King Mem, who was ruling when the Pinto plague struck Denis. Mem or Murta? I keep getting those mixed up for some reason. Uh, yeah. Okay. Oh, sorry. The second story is about King Mem, and then the third story is about King Murta, and that it was his mother and his mother's attempts to change the oath of the Guild of Writers, and who released the mutated version of the Pinto plague on Denis. Memon was when during his reign there was a plague, but it was a different one. Now here's a little bit tidbit for you regarding the floors in here. We spoke to Richard Watson about this place, and let's go down and take a look here. Let's see if we can. I asked Murfak if he could remove the tarpaulin. Okay, no, it's still here. This is out of character. Richard told us that the reason why the tarpaulin is stretched across the central well of the library is to conceal how deep it is. Sion had intended for the library to have a lot of linking books for ages they planned to make. The idea was that they would just add more and more floors as the need arose, and didn't want to explorers to see a finite number of floors in case they decide to change the number later. The same idea was intended for the museum. It was also meant to be expanded downward so they could have space for more pottage books as was needed. In the museum, the floors would have been under the existing ones and not visible from the top. The door at the end of the ground floor room would have opened on a stairway down to the additional floors. In other words, in the museum right now, we can see 2 floors, and then there's a solid floor down at the bottom, so that you only think that there are 2 floors. But presumably, if they had kept building the pottage, they would have had 2 more floors under the current ones, and then 2 more floors under that as they needed to build them. Okay. And let's see, 134, we still have a little bit of time left. So we're going to go ahead and leave the library and then move over to Sutherland Point.
Imagine walking this in real life.
Oh yeah.
Can you imagine the congestion if the Denis had bicycles?
Yeah. Can you imagine the congestion the first time they came to a set of stairs?
All line up at the food courts.
Okay. So this is, by the way, this location where I am now is called Sutherland Point because this is the first place that an explorer managed to catch a take a key picture of Kate Sutherland, a member of the DRC. One of the things I always like to point out when I come here is that, let's see, if you look at this corner of the palace building, you'll notice that there is a set of windows way up the wall. That's one of the signs that wall which surrounds the palace courtyard is actually hollow and has passages inside of it. The others, of course, is that the palace balcony, which is a little further along the line in that direction, also opens into this wall. When we go part way up the alley next to the palace to the first landing, you'll see that there is a door here. On the other side of this door, there is a staircase that goes down a short distance and opens out onto the palace courtyard, which is inside of the walls. And give me a moment here. And I will bring up some pictures on the stream window. Okay. In just a moment, you should be able to see this. Here we go. This is an overview of the palace from the Tokata courtyard. And you'll notice that the big set of steps in the middle of the palace facade goes up to a space. Yeah, you can see my mouse there. And the area where I'm waving the mouse cursor over right now is the palace courtyard. And then if you look at the upper left corner of the palace courtyard, you can see the stairs that I was talking about that lead up to where we are right now. Let's see. Oh,
Murphy made the doors disappear so we can see down. Oh, excellent. He did that while I wasn't looking. One of the things I've always wondered about is how you got up to the upper sections of the the tower that the Hall of Kings is in. If you were to back up in the alley here and look upward, you will see that above this door there are several. The structures continue upward, and if you look at the one with the vertical ribs on it, just above the main wall, you will notice that over to one side of it there is another bu- building on top of the wall that hooks up somehow to the tower that the Hall of Kings is in. And I've always wondered is if that wasn't the way you got up into there. It's about the only way that I can see, unless there is an underground way as well. But that doesn't make any sense because the Hall of Kings takes up pretty much all of the lower floor of the tower.
This area is solid down to the courtyard,
Courtyard.
Freudian slip. Do you want the tourists to come down here, or would that take too long?
No, we can go in there if it is solid, but normally it isn't. So I didn't think of that we would be able to.
Yeah, I used the Mirabot's walk command to get down here. I know this area is also open in the open cave shard, or at least it used to be.
Yeah, it's called City of Dimensions where that's true. So yeah, if you PM Mirrobot the command walk 3, it'll get you onto the steps down.
Or PM find Larry or find Susan.
Shiloh, that's why you either have to use the find command to come to me, or to use the walk 3, for instance, to PM to Mirrobot in order to get past that barrier. But you can use Find Larry to get to where I am, and I'm at the in the courtyard right now.
One thing too, when Larry was showing on the screen the facade of the palace from the Dakota courtyard,
Mm-hmm.
and he pointed out the stairs coming up to this little plaza area from the Dakota courtyard. There were 2 balconies alongside the stairs to the right of the stairs, and the balcony further away is the palace rooftop that you get to from one of the borrow stones during Yisha's first journey.
I'm putting that picture back up so that you can tell them about it.
And so you got the trapezoidal roof, and then you've got a rectangular roof above and behind that. And that rectangular roof is where...
This one here.
Yes.
That's where you go when you use the link to the palace rooftop.
Yes. And that's also where one of the markers is when you're looking for the Great Zero markers for the initial 33 markers you have to find. Oh.
Yep, I do remember that.
So we
Sorry,
are
that was a little bit of a
right
spoiler alert.
Uh-oh, did Carol fall through the floor? Sorry, Carol.
this would have been modified. And as long as I'm looking at pictures, this is an overview of the palace. But first, let's talk a little bit about the history. When the age of Denis was written, and Rinaref led his followers here, he was proclaimed the first king of Denis. However, he did not believe in the trappings that came with the title, and lived in a home that was no better than those of his followers. The second king, Ae'gura, lived in the same manner, although it's possible he may have built a more upscale home, one similar to the higher classes of Denis society. Then along came Shomat, the third king. He broke with the philosophy of Rinaref and demanded all of the privileges of a king. He had this palace that he built as he felt was befitting his station, and it was completed in Denis year 347. That would have been around 7310 before the Christian era. Shomet's palace became the official residence of all of the kings who followed after him. As with surface monarchs, it was not the only residence that the king would have owned. It was quite common for upper-class Denis to have residences and vacation homes in other ages. Shomat is the one who is infamous for having ordered a garden be constructed for his enjoyment. However, when the artisans and architects built a rest area in the cavern similar to, but much more elaborate than the Garden of Lights found in residential neighborhoods, he got angry. He then commanded the Guild of Writers to create a garden age with a variety of beautiful plants and natural features instead. The story of Shomat's garden can be found in a notebook on Tokata Rooftop, and Yisha placed a copy of it in Ederkimo as an example of the things she hated about Denis. The palace complex is made up of at least 6 superstructures that you can see in the schematic that I have up in the stream window at the moment. It is made up of at least 6 superstructures on a single deep base, a style of construction also used for the Tokata II complex. It can be supposed that many of the rooms, hallways, and chambers of the palace are underground, which would make the building much larger than is suggested by the superstructures visible from Tokata Courtyard. Superstructures 1 and 2, which are the white lettering on the dark background in the picture, those two are face the Tokata Courtyard on either side of a locked gate leading to the palace courtyard where we are now. They are the main entryways into the interior of the building that are known. What rooms they hold is unknown. Together, they comprise the east face of the entire complex. Superstructure 3 is an exterior wall with space for a corridor inside of it that surrounds the palace courtyard. Let's see. It makes up most of the northern side of the complex. And as I mentioned earlier, while we were at the Canyon Mall and had you look at the palace, that northern face extends at least as far down as the water line. It may go even deeper than that. The walls around the palace courtyard are hollow. Midway along the north face is a door opening on the palace balcony, as I mentioned before. And of course, I also mentioned the windows that look out from the interior of the wall. The entrance into that wall is most likely in superstructure 2 or from underneath the courtyard. Superstructure 4 seems to be a gatehouse structure. Here we go. And this is the one that we were outside of when I was talking about the short stairway down to the courtyard. It seems to be a gatehouse structure with a building on top of that that has an unknown purpose. There is a second-story room with windows connecting it to Superstructure 5, the round tower with the Hall of Kings. And it may have been the main traffic corridor to the tower and to the arch to the upper levels of Ae'gura. Superstructure 5 is the round tower. The ground level contains the Hall of Kings, and the upper level serves as the footing for an arch that, according to existing maps, may once have led to the upper residential districts of Ae'gura and to the Guildhall. The tower is partly made up of a stalagmite that the Denis engineers carved into. Superstructure 6, which is the largest one that we see from outside, was most likely the upper levels of the primary residence and has a second floor door leading onto an elevated walkway that was probably intended for guards to monitor foot traffic in the palace alcove. If you can see my cursor, I'm talking about this here. This is an elevated walkway over the arch at the top of the stairs. There are several access points into the complex. The eastern side of the complex borders Tokata Courtyard and has a gate with a short flight of steps behind it leading to a door in Superstructure 1. Next to it is a gate with a long flight of steps leading to upstairs entrances at the first landing there. And then the steps go up to the palace courtyard. Next to that is an ungated doorway into Superstructure 2. The road from the Hall of Kings to Sutherland Point has a door into Superstructure 4. And of course, we came down the steps from that into the palace courtyard. Finally, there are many doors leading to balconies and openings on the steps from Tokata Courtyard to the palace courtyard. And I'll go back to this picture to show you what I'm talking about. There's a door here, there's a door here, and opposite, there's a door into this part of the building. And then, of course, over here is the door into Superstructure 4. Superstructure 1, if we go back to the map here. Let's see. Superstructure 1 has 3 doors on its east face, one up a short flight of steps at ground level, and 2 opening from onto balconies on higher floors. At the west end of the courtyard, which would be over here, that's just talking about the steps into Superstructure 4, which I've already talked about. On top of Superstructure 4, there is an unidentified building that has a door onto a railed rooftop deck. There are 4 projections facing roughly north on the top of the structure. Murphak, if you can, please build a platform up on top of Building 4 where that mysterious
building is and warp us up there.
Put everyone in a safe place before.
Yes.
I'm very sorry, folks. I'm going to have to get going, do a prior commitment. I want to
it's
remind y'all.
1:55.
Yes, I want to remind you. Yes?
Excuse me just a moment, but I didn't realize it was quite this late yet. Before we get, instead of having Murphat build that platform, we'll end the tour here for this month and pick up from the next time.
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead
first,
and
sir.
bring up the web browser.
So as you probably all know, each of our tours is the 4th Saturday of each month at 11 key time. We meet in Cavern Tours Hood. Our next tour then will be Saturday, August 26th at 11 key time. We hope to see you all there. Thank you all very much for coming. It's always very heartening and encouraging to see such a large group show up each month. And we hope to see you next month.
Oh.
I want to thank Larry and Arte for being our excellent Dunny historians and for for leading the tours. Also to the co-host Zeke, who is one of the originators for the tours, and of course to Murphac, who provides the Mirrobot services for us. We couldn't do these tours without him. So let's give them all a big round of applause.
On the stream window, by the way, I do have today's events up.
Also, I'd like to mention, don't forget to donate to the CaveCon.
CavCon, yes.
CavCon, because by donating, it helps us make these events available to you and keeps the light on so that we can keep doing these tours and all these events.
And we can do that through the Uru website, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Myst Online.
MystOnline.com.
Yep. Yeah. Under donate, I think they have it.
Yeah, there's a donate button.
Okay. And
this
Susan,
is really cool.
if you want to take, what's that?
All right, guys, I'll see you next month. Thanks, everyone.
Take care, Susan.
We're up
Have
there.
a blessed week.
To you too.
I'll actually talk more about this next month when we pick up, but this is the next area I was going to show you. We're on top of Superstructure 4 right now. And then looking at the stream window, we have several more events taking place today. The first one that I'll talk about is karaoke, which is held in the New Messengers pub. And in order to listen in, you have to plug in the numbers that you see there into a music program, or you can go there in your web browser by putting those numbers in instead of the URL. And that is the longest running regular event in the Cavern. People pre-record themselves singing various songs, submit them to the host, and then she replays them every Saturday. And then the other two events today are both Arte's, so I will turn this over to him and let him talk about them.
Yeah, well, let's see. We got story night coming up at 1400 key time, so it's in about an hour. And we're going to, tonight, we're going to finish up the story from the Game of Ribbon. And then next week, we'll be starting off with the Book of Denis. And the story night starts at 1400 key time for Story Night Europe, and original story nights at 2330 key time.
Okay. And I think that's everything that we needed to talk about this time. So thank you everyone for coming. I'm always glad to see you. And we do, we do this for you, so it'd be so without you, these things wouldn't exist. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the stream now. So thanks everyone for coming, and we'll see you next month. Bye bye.